Hello, Culture Matters podcast. Boy, am I excited about today. Before I introduce you to our guest, here's a quote just for this episode. Unlimited power in the hands of limited people will always leads, or unlimited power in the hands of limited people always leads to cruelty. Alexander Solzhenitsyn. Today, our guest is back, good friend of the Culture Matters podcast, founder of Guardian Roofing and Siding, mentor of the original Guardians, recurring guest, if you listen to the show, the Culture Matters podcast, and this specific series of episodes, I challenge you to listen to our Guardian Values episode 1 through 10 or so, I believe, 9. But Robert Frehafer has been a role model of values over the years and quite a perfect person to share thoughts and feelings and concepts with you, our audience, on the value of values in your company culture and the value of values in your life. So thanks for coming on today, Robert. We're going to be talking about the first value, Guardian, and of Guardian, the G, and throwing some ideas back and forth of the opposite of the value. So thanks for coming on again.
My pleasure, Jay. Thanks for having me. I'm interested to see where this episode goes. I have a couple of thoughts, but truly I'm literally sitting over here like this is a blank canvas for me, right? We're going to talk about the opposite of the value.
Can you read the value for us? The
I
G?
will. Yeah. So the G in Guardian, it actually, the word is guardian for that one. And it's a home improvement specialist who listens intentionally, communicates clearly, and educates the customer by telling the truth.
So this is what I got written down. A storm, and I'm a third party observer of the culture of the industry. I've had the absolute pleasure of interviewing various individuals throughout the industry over the years, and participating in the industry as a speaker and as an advisor. And so here's my some thoughts on that definition. A storm chaser who generalizes all potential customer problems to suit their selfish desires, who listens to respond, confuses communication with or without intention, and omits information to make the sale. Sell or be sold. Close the deal. Don't listen to the negativity. Leverage the law of attraction. I got a little aggressive at the end there. But if we're thinking in the opposite of the value, the first part I have there is a storm chaser. I like your thoughts on that connotation. Well, first, what do you think about that definition?
Can you say it one more time? I just wanted to take a couple of notes. I have a storm chaser.
A storm chaser who generalizes all potential customer problems to suit their selfish desires,
Got it.
who listens to respond,
Got it.
confuses communication with or without intention, and omits information to make the sale.
Confuses communication with or without intention, did you say?
Yeah, with or without intention.
Yeah. Omits information to make the sale. Then I know you said sell or be sold at the end and a couple of
Yeah, sell or be sold, close the deal. Don't listen to the negativity. Those are some mantras, I think, from that value would attribute to.
Mm.
There'd be a common core synthesis, or they run in a similar circle. I'm curious, firstly, though, what comes to mind?
A few things. The one that really jumps out when we go through that is omits information to make the sale. That is in direct conflict with educates the customer by telling the truth. And I know I'm jumping near the end, but that one really rises up to me, because that is on a day-to-day when I'm dealing with a client. I have so much information based off of my experience, others' experience, learning, so many pieces of information that I do have to, to bring it up a notch, to communicate clearly. Right before I have to communicate clearly, because if I start to say all the things that I know, I'll lose someone and it may not apply. But I won't say tempted, but there's a level of fear that can rise up from sharing or not omit, from the fear of like, oh, if I say whatever this challenge that I potentially see for the client, for myself, for their relationship with the insurance company, for the damage that they have, whatever these things are, I could omit that information and have a higher probability that they'll go through the process with me. But my experience has showed me that when I omit certain information, there is then this higher probability that I will lose the opportunity to work with that person in the long run, based off of my short-term fear. So that may sound very,
Wow.
very opaque or vague, but like, I'll say it this way. I might go to someone's house and they have like a few shingles that are blown off from a windstorm. And I look at the roof and I'm like, wow, yeah, you have a real problem. This storm just came through. These shingles are blown off. They're laying in your gutter and on your front yard. If I omit the fact that, yeah, the insurance company might only pay for a repair for you. They might only pay for that area of the roof to get paid for, rather than the whole thing, because they only owe for the areas that are damaged, right? And there's all these different variables there. But if I omit all that and I say, yeah, I'll do all this work, and if I get you the whole roof paid for, I get the job. Well, the challenge is that I might not get the whole roof paid for. And then if I came back to them after going through the whole process that I do and say, well, I got that whole front paid for you, so let's do this job. It's $12,000. And they say, I don't want a mismatched roof. Well, now I didn't give them, and there was a chance that maybe the insurance company would have paid for the whole thing, but that would have been in my own selfish desires,
Wow.
rather than informing the homeowner. This is the true reality of what may go on. I'm willing, because there's a chance that I can get the whole thing paid for and do a great project for you, or I could get the whole front or back paid for it. I'll do that area for you. So that's one small thing. Here's a really big one. This is one that's that when, as I was describing that scenario, it didn't seem to hit home as well as what I'm thinking. Here's a different one. Homeowners ask, or I volunteer. This is a tough one, right? Like, oh, do you use subcontractors? And how I know it's tough for me, because I spent a long time to explain like what it is. Yes, we use subcontractors. We've built the whole business on subcontracting for the install. All of our reviews, all the jobs that we've installed, all the completed customers, they're based off of these subcontractor relationships. I talk about the warranties, how we oversee the insurances, how they would never know, but we're so transparent about it. But the challenge is that if I do all of the work that I do, I get I meet the insurance company, they get their money, we're ready to do this, and then we're sitting at the table picking colors, and they say, oh, by the way, you don't use subcontractors, do you? Well, now I spent maybe 15 hours, 10 hours with this client for no reward. So even as I use that scenario, it's like it's good for both parties, is my
Mm.
view, to be completely educate the customer by telling them the truth. That is actually, and that's another value that we have, is through building these win-win relationships, right? Like through telling the truth. So all that being said, that's what rises up as the opposite, or the antithesis. Well, let me rephrase that. I'll recant that. The opposite of the one where it says omits information to make the sale. That one really rises up to me, because the other ones, a storm chaser who generalized all potential customer problems to suit their selfish desires. Generally, we do generalize, like, okay, we're going to a neighborhood, they got roofing, they got siding, they had a storm, so that will be it. But when you twist it from listens intentionally to serve selfish desires, again, that's another value that we have. That's this where we talked about, as we went through these values in the previous series, that they all intertwine, they support each other, right? So that's a secondary, it's another value that we have. Like, we're thinking long term, not with our selfish desires. We're upholding the processes from our teammates. And so, all that being said, those other items, all of these are important to not live the experience that way, because it will I believe it will, like, tear apart the guardian from inside themselves. Number one, it will tear apart the relationships between the guardian and the company, the guardian and the homeowner, the clients, the installers, like everybody. When you start acting this way, like, if you, like, you generalize everything for your selfish desire, you listen to respond, you confuse your communication because you don't even know what you're saying, right? Like, you're omitting information to make the sale, and that can happen a lot. So anyway,
How
yes,
would you
crazy. Go ahead.
how would you draw a distinction between listening to respond versus listening intentionally? If you would unpack that for our listeners.
That is one of the key values that I have been able to be aware of and learn through working with you. I've heard it so many times, all the way back till a teenager, like through 12-step programs, like that humans, including myself, will be already formulating my response in my mind based off of what's going on around me. A lot of that, was, for me personally, is based on insecurity. I want the core of it is insecurity or fear. I want my counterpart to understand my intention, know what I want, and as well as I want to get to an end goal, whatever that end goal is. So when I'm listening to respond, I'm trying to pull out and pick out the items, and I'm talking about in the sales context. If I am, and this is not a great, and it's not a positive behavior, for clarity. If I'm listening only to respond and get my own selfish desires met, I'm only going to pick out the parts the way that I'm hearing them, right? I'm hearing the client say, "Oh, I don't want to use a subcontractor. Oh, I'm scared about roof. I think my roof is okay. I don't really see damage." Now, there is a way to listen to understand listen to understand the client. And then the more that I can, so the difference is that when I'm listening to respond, I'm really not listening. I'm already formulating these thoughts. So for me, it is important to take notes, right? To be able to write down the things that they're saying, to try to get out of my own way, because I only have so much brain space, for me personally. And I do believe that God has gifted me with the ability to listen and think about things. And even while I'm talking, I'm thinking about other things. Not that I'm, like, special. Other people have this ability as well. But if used in the wrong context, the biggest takeaway that I've learned from our working together is I totally miss my counterpart. I miss what they're saying. I take it personally. I'm taking it as an insult, or their view of me. Like, I literally taking it personally, not only negative or positive. That could be either way. I'm not hearing what it is they're saying, and I really can't serve to their needs because I didn't really listen to them, and I'm only thinking with my own selfish desires. So this listening to respond, it's something that it goes on. A lot of people, it's unknown. Like, even though I've heard it, so maybe, for me, it takes me a little while to learn something. So I had to hear it a bunch of times, and then I have to understand the pain of it. I had to impact pain or impact others around me because I wasn't listening till I had pain by watching them suffer based off of my interactions with them, till I finally got it, dude. Till I finally understood, like, we're different beings. I'm not so attached to them. They're not so attached to me. My actions, attitude, word, verbal communication, nonverbal communication, it all impacts the people around me. And when I was able to start listening to them to understand them, it changed the whole way that I view my life. And it really is still becoming, because I was so unaware of that, and I had some level of awareness over these last few years, and I thought I was a great listener. Like, literally, I was like, I really thought I was a great listener, and I was good at listening, and I was really good at hearing these things. But there was something that there was this like self-centeredness behind it, of an ability to respond to it, and it wins. So that's a challenge, right? Like, from a sales position, you can, that mantra, those mantras that you talked about, like close, another close, sell or be sold, all these things, like, you know, they can work to sell, but I can only talk about my own experience. The sale coupled with unawareness, omitting truths, listening only to respond, only to get the deal. It's it's not rewarding, or I should say, it's not as rewarding as the sale and the listening, and being honest and truthful and not omitting, those things together. And what I believe, my belief based off of experience, is that I sell more with the values when I'm listening, when I'm communicating clearly, and when I'm being honest with the client and telling them the truth. I actually sell more, and my time is more valuable, because I will weed out the people that are not a good fit. I will not, we won't move forward in those relationships because because the company's not a good fit for them, or they're not a good fit for the company. So I know that's a long answer, but
Hmm.
it's something that, if there's anything that a listener could hear today, right, out of all this as a takeaway, is to somehow, I don't know a way, except for I have had, 20 something years of trying to get this beat into my head: self-help, 12-step program, counseling, advisorship, all these different type of things, and my own walk. So it may not apply, but if in some capacity, the listener, if you find yourself that you're getting frustrated or anxious or annoyed or feeling misheard or confused by the people that are around you or close to you, and you find yourself, kind of talking or acting to change someone's perspective of you, and trying to change their view, and you're not having compassion for them while they're talking to you. You're not having empathy, and able to, separate yourself and just listen to them. You may be under the same thing that I was under for so long, that you're only listening to reply, listening to respond, and and the freedom on the other side of listening to your counterpart, to just listen to them, and then be able to ask people certain things like, do you want to hear what I think? Do you want to know my opinion? Do you want to know my thoughts on this, my experiences? And some people don't want to know it. They don't have time. They're not interested, so you can then listen to your counterpart even more in that regard. And rather than spend so much time with people that aren't even interested. So the freedom is there. If you feel some level of, like, challenge inside, or frustrating walking away from conversations, and like, you just got to prove your point and people are not understanding, I will put myself out there that I would be willing to take a call for sure. And like, I'm not a doctor or anything like that, but if we talk, and some of those things that you're going through are similar to me, I would definitely point you in certain directions of ways, books, videos, groups, counsel, advisorship, I would be remiss if I didn't mention you, Jay, right? If there's a high level person out there that's running a company and they're feeling something like this, like reach out, right? Like make the call, see if that's the right fit. Cause I've heard it said before, culture matters. And it's truly from the top down. It's me and it's my culture that's impacting the business. And I'm going to attract the people that are similar to those behaviors. And the challenge is that in this particular scenario, if the head of the company is listening to respond, not understanding, not compassionate, not listening to the counterpart, and all the people that I'm attracting are in the same boat, it is freaking chaos. It's like people just like so reactive inside the business that are back and forth, not listening to each other, forming their own conclusions, never really getting the point. And that's an extreme example because it's not 0 to 100 to put it on some sort of number scale. Not everybody's running around at a negative 100, not listening and answering, but it can be a higher instance of personality and character traits that aren't listening to each other, which then ramp up these more misunderstandings. So that listening intentionally, those two words in the very beginning of the values is really great, man. Like I'm thankful for you, Jay, for helping me put the values to words, how we navigate it. But this has been some life altering stuff. And it's not like once it's learned, it's over. I say it's a practice, right? Because in 2 seconds, you might say something that I fall, the other direction or whatever else. This is a continuing and ongoing practice. So yeah, that's a bit about listening intentionally.
Where do you think that the negative maybe I'm wrong about that, or I'm not understanding well, the negative connotation of the storm chaser comes from?
So there is a lot of reasonable information why there would be a negative connotation. There are plenty of examples where contractors will come into a town and they will do a bunch of work for a community after a storm hits. And then they won't pay their suppliers or their installers. And those suppliers, like the material distributors, they'll put liens on people's homes. So an unknowing homeowner buys it, installer comes or, contractor comes out, knocks on the door. They go through the whole process. This is the best. The contractor, for whatever reason, doesn't pay the supplier. The supplier literally puts a lien right on the homeowner's house. Well, they'll give them an opportunity to pay the bill, which would be over and above the money that they've already paid out. So the burden would fall on the client, the homeowner. That's terrible. That's one negative thing that can go on. Also, this is like historically, contractors will go out, and this is what makes the headlines, right? Like if somebody commits damage, like commits insurance fraud by creating damage to a house, that's going to make the news, right? Like that is something that is horrible. It is, a terrible representation, but ultimately that's the stuff that makes it to the forefront after a storm comes through. If that happens, if somebody does that's what goes on. The other thing is that contractors generally I'll use your terms. It's such an easy entrance business. Go get a license or go get somebody else to get a license and go knock on a door, sell to a homeowner like, yeah, I'm going to get you a roof. It's only going to cost you your deductible. And then meet the insurance company. It gets paid. So there's this high ability to create profit. So ease of entry and a high profit, thing, but a high profit opportunity. The challenge is that there are so many different parts and pieces that go into it that can be messed up, right? Like the communication to the homeowner, if it's not clear and if it's not truthful, you could set all kinds of wrong expectations. And in the insurance industry, and even just generally homeowners' perspectives are like, oh, if I file a claim, I'm going to get dropped. My rates are going to go up. or I don't have to pay my deductible. I don't want to pay my deductible. You should pay my deductible. These are all these different like myths out there, things that, and again, with the insurance rates going up and getting dropped, that's where the contractors overstep the bounds. They say, oh no, you're not, your rates aren't going to go up. It's an act of God. You're not going to get dropped. Like the truth of the matter is that unless they are licensed, if they're holding an adjuster's license or an agent's license or something like that, I'm not familiar with that. I'm not licensed as a public adjuster or an insurance agent. I tell the clients that, like, that's a question that you would ask your agent or your insurance company. I'll tell you my experience on it as a contractor. But so where the storm chasers go out there and they say, and I'm not saying it in a negative way. It's a word. It's a storm chaser, right? Like, that's, to me, it's what it is. We're a storm damage specialist, right? We go out, we help with that. But from an uneducated, if the rep is uneducated, well, or they just want to make it simple and they want to omit, they could say to the client, no, your rates aren't going to go up. This is an act of God. Nope, you're not going to get dropped. This is an act of God. That nowhere, everybody's rates are going to go up. These are like things that there is a bit of truth to these things as well in certain scenarios, but they're not particularly the ones that should be answering that question. They can give experience, what it is, how it is, but ultimately, because there's so many different policies and then companies and then different policies within the companies, and there's changes all the time, I could say, oh, this is my experience, but I would refer you to ask your insurance company. The tough part is that they don't even get the answer when they ask their insurance company. And there's actually something that's built in most scenarios, that's my understanding, is that if they call the agent and say, hey, what happens with this if I file a claim, the agents are not motivated for their clients to file claims. It's not my understanding is that in certain companies and certain setups, they actually will get penalized if a certain percentage of their clients file claims. They'll make less money for the policies that they sell in the future. But again, I'm not an agent or an adjuster, right? Like, I'm just a contractor, but these are the things that I've heard or experienced over time. So again, going back to it, some of the big things are creating damage, communication with the client that's unclear. One of the biggest things is bringing in contractors. So the storm chaser will bring in subcontractors to do the work, and they might do a terrible job. They might not do it to the manufacturer specifications. They might not register the warranties. They may have leaks and problems, and then they go out of business. So that's where you have a huge problem that will rear its ugly head years down the line, but that's all on the internet. So as soon as you start searching this out, you see all these terrible situations. The millions of homeowners that go through this year in and year out that have a great experience, they're not going to Ripoff Report and this and that saying like, we've all had this great experience. It's the ones that have had the terrible experiences, and then companies, and really, it is a shame. It is terrible for the client that a company can open up, go out, win relationships, call in claims, get them paid, get it installed, and then 6 months later, 2 years later, it's leaking, it's causing mold, it's problems. The roof leaks are not very simple always to diagnose. It could be coming from one area, coming in somewhere else. So now they're paying money to get something fixed that could continually have problems. And it's one of the biggest, usually their home is their biggest investment for America. And then two, their roof. It's like one of the most expensive parts of the home to redo, and it covers the rest of it with so many implications if it's not done properly. So you have all these issues where certain times down the line that a homeowner could try to get a warranty issue with the manufacturer. They find out, oh, that guy wasn't registered. He never registered a warranty. They weren't certified. They didn't use the right accessories, or they send somebody out, it was installed improperly. So these are like big things that where the recommendation is find somebody local, get somebody that has time in business, make sure they're certified, see their references, see their recent work, make sure that they have an internet presence, they have Google reviews, Better Business Bureau, see their completed jobs list, all these different types of things, right? To make sure that they're then all the regular stuff like your license, you're insured, anybody that works for the company has the proper liability, workers' comp insurance, they're additionally insured. They're certified by the manufacturers to put the roofs on. So these are all the things that, that the world says, which is good, like to pick a contractor. The challenge is when a big storm comes through an area, the local, I'm not saying now, because more and more everybody knows about how to navigate insurance claims as a contractor. So that's good for the clientele. But what's going on is that if a storm rolls through an area that there's not storm chasers in, generally there's a timeline that all these roofs and siding need to get, the claim needs to be placed within a certain time, whether it's 6 months, a year, 18 months, 2 years, a reasonable amount of time, different policies, different companies, etc. But so as long as that gets called in by a certain time, but then you have a certain amount of time as the client does. Again, this goes into different policies, different things, but there are generally specifics that say that's an oxymoron, general specifics. But there are overarching like rules that say after you file the claim, you have X amount of time to bring any litigation against the insurance company.
Hmm.
And that's a big deal because the insurance company doesn't always pay everything right away or come to an agreement, or that's a whole nother discussion. But that can only happen. So number one, you need to have awareness to the homeowners, which most local roofing and siding contractors, they don't even market that way, to blanket a whole area with, Facebook, Instagram, mailers, telemarketing, door knockers, canvassing, flyer delivery, right? They don't even inform the homeowners to that capacity. So even though it may be of an annoyance to certain clients, it's millions and billions of dollars worth of home improvement upgrades after a storm that's legitimately paid for because the insurance company pays for it, that the storm chaser helps impact and create that opportunity. So the small local contractor, they don't market that way. They don't inform them. They really may not be aware of what hail damage looks like or what wind damage looks like or what is the proper way to communicate as a contractor with the insurance company to make sure that the homeowner gets brought back to a pre-loss condition, right? Like that's and again, that's like a gray area right there, gray line like that we don't want to step over as a contractor. Because even that, I'm looking as a contractor, shingles are blown off the roof and it's 10 years old. I have to do the repair as a contractor. I'm not talking about it from a policy side. And that language of like a pre-loss condition, that is like some policy language, which ultimately I'm looking at and having a conversation with the homeowner like, this was all one roof before. You want me to put it back? I need to warranty it, do it up to manufacturer specifications. Sure, I can throw a couple shingles in there with zero warranty. They're not going to seal the same way that they were. You have the underlayment that's underneath of the shingles that isn't, the whole system's going to be then compromised. That is not how it was before the storm. And I can help you to give you the documentation as a contractor of what's for warranty, building code, specifics to that area, if the materials are available or not available anymore. So it's not like a total, different stuff that's on the roof. So all that being said, the negative connotation is that the storm contractors, they blanket the area, they bother the homeowners, they keep marketing, keep knocking on the doors. Then they don't do crappy work, right? That leaves the homeowner with issues or unregistered things or uninsured. People can get hurt and die. Like installers can get hurt. There's so many things that give storm chasers a negative connotation. But my experience out there, there are a lot of great contractors that go to storm areas and specialize in that. And it's a great business model for them. And for me, that's why we continue to do it, as well as they're going out there to provide a service for a homeowner, to help them through the process, to make sure that they get the good installation, the house is cleaned up, that there's a company that's there at long-standing to warranty, to be there and take care of the needs if there is an issue in the future. So all that being said, the answer to your question, there's so many things that go on that create a negative connotation about storm chasers. I want to throw this one last piece out there for you and for the listener, that to understand, like, this business is so lucrative, it's so big, that there are companies around the country that they'll literally, after a storm hits, they'll look at the information on the satellite, they'll look at the information through Google, through the storm models, they'll look to get verification of the size of the hail or the wind or whatever that went through. And they'll literally reach out to local small businesses, small local companies and they'll say, hey, we'll give you $300,000. Let us use your name. Let us bring 20 sales reps up to your 50, whatever, however many, to your area. We're going to sell all these jobs. We're going to give you $5 a square. I don't know all the logistics of it, but this is my layman's understanding because I'm on the outside of that. I don't do that model. But ultimately, and they'll say, yeah, we're going to do, 100,000 square of roofing. So this small contractor that might do 200, 500, $1 million a year is getting offered this big chunk. Then this a huge chunk based off of what they do. But the caveat is when the storm chaser leaves, when they pull the magnets off of their truck, when all their installers leave, that local contractor needs to service the work. They have no idea of how much service that is. It puts companies out of business if it's a bad install. Doesn't mean that model can actually be great with great installers, great salespeople. It could be a win-win for everybody, the community, and all that. So it is, and then you see, like, you think, oh, this is a local company. The homeowner will think, oh, it's a local company. I'm not dealing with a storm guy. But the next thing you know, they got Texas plates, Colorado plates on 50 trucks. They're all at the local, Red Roof Inn down the road, and they have a storefront that popped up right in the middle of the storm area from the XYZ, local roofing company. So there's so much deception and like manipulation that goes on, and brand new people coming in, just literally omitting or lying to say the things and to gather business. So it's there's a lot of things, Jay, that will make there be a negative connotation with storm chasing.
It makes me think, absent of values, anything goes kind of thing. If someone from outside a community is coming in, then it would be their intrinsic values that impel them, inspire them to do what they say they're going to do. Someone that's a part of a community has more skin in the game in that community, and even with less integration of their values in who they are, like in themselves, they'd be more likely to do what they say they're going to do because of the incentive structure of, I'm a part of the community. I'm going to be judged if I don't get what I say I was going to get done. It's less transient. It's more relational, communal. It's like if I plan on the second sale, third sale, fourth sale, fifth sale, sixth sale, that's a pretty strong incentive to do a good job on the first sale. If I don't have any thought of ever doing the second sale, the third sale, the fourth sale, then what's motivating me to do the first sale well when I get paid despite the consequences? It would have to come from outside of me. It would have to come from something intrinsic. That's a conflict. Like the value, it would have to come from my values, like the spirit of feeling good about I did what I said I was going to do, or we did a good job, we got it done. It may even cost me more. So that sounds like a bad incentive structure to do good. I'm going to make less money to see where I'm, but of course, right? But I'm going to make less money in the short term if I'm transient, if I'm going to community, if I'm chasing, for example, if I'm going to a foreign land, it's a call to my values to do the right thing because there's less consequences if I don't. So it's they better be guardians in the field, not the storm chaser, or you know. So that's what comes to mind. The incentive structure creates an increased likelihood of poor behavior, poor customer experience in the absence of values that are a part of the organizations that are going into the field. Like not their neighbor, not their local community, but to some foreign land, they better be bringing their values. Because the incentive structure is less likely to hold them accountable to their values. What were you going to say?
Yes, at first I was having a little tough time tracking with you to understand. Now I get it. Like you're saying that the individual's values need to be there because if they go into another community, there's nothing really incentivizing them to not just go through, tear it up, make a bunch of money, and leave and not be concerned with it. And
Yeah, I could be less pure of a person, but like I know the clear consequences of being in my community, stealing from a bunch of my neighbors. I'm going to be shunned and
here's
siloed, and
here's the interesting concept. Now, I have to say this as a prerequisite. This just may be my own view because I see the world through my own lenses and the way that I see and feel and experience it. But my judgment is that primarily, I don't believe there's a bunch of like ill-willed sales reps, whether it's guardians. I don't believe there's ill-will guardians, but as a whole. But that being said, I don't believe there's a bunch of ill-willed sales reps going door to door with storm chasing. Period. I do think that there are some that make poor decisions or they may be on drugs and alcohol and things like this. But what I do believe is that there's a lot of hurt people that have made poor decisions through their life, but they actually get to provide value when they go and knock on that door. And even if they may not be able to sustain long-term relationships, or they may not even be able to have connection with those closest to them over decades, they may be able to connect with that individual at the door and then grow a meaningful relationship in a short amount of time to come into their home, demonstrate what they do, provide the help to the homeowner, meet with the insurance company, create a short-term relationship with that person, small talk, who you are, what you're, help them. They're helping the insurance adjuster generally that's coming out there. You want my ladder? You want me to do the thing, take pictures for you, do the stuff. Then they're helping the homeowner again. Let me make sure that all the items are in there, which they're also helping themselves, right? It's that win-win. And then they get the job on. The homeowner's happy. They feel good. They've got it. They've had some most circumstances. They've had some help through the situation, and they shake hands and they part ways. I think that that's the majority of people. Now, based off of their education, their experience, their ability to communicate, listen intentionally, educate the customer by telling the truth, and serve out their job, and then the ops behind them to support it through install, cleanliness, warranties, all these different things. It really will then totally impact the client. But my point with this, Jay, is that I don't think it's all or nothing. And I wouldn't presume that you mean it that way, but I just don't think it's all or nothing. I think that it is individuals that can wane one way or the other. Like today, I'm in it for me, right? I'm going out there. I need money to pay my child support, my bills, my whatever. I just spent a bunch of money. I've had conversations with good, I believe, are decent people. One of them particularly, I'm not going to name his name. He actually passed away from drugs, young man. But I remember talking to him. He worked with another company, and I was like, we were talking about something. We weren't talking about working together. He was actually calling me about something that was going on in the neighborhood, and whatever it was that we were talking to, he was like, Bob, he's like, I'm not like you, dude. Like, I go to the casino at the end of the night. I'm getting drunk. I'm living. I'm not saving my money on it. but still he gave a crap about what his job was, right? Like he really did, to the capacity that he could. He cared about what he was doing, the clients. I really believe, if I don't remember the exact reason, but I think that's the reason that he called me in the first place, is because a client said something that wasn't in alignment with what he knew of a guardian, right? Like, yo, my client said, a guardian did this or that. Whatever it was, the reason was, that's mostly what we had talked about, like something along those lines. So I say that because even the transient person that comes through, that now I have another experience of one of the largest storm damage companies in the country. And I had a gentleman that worked with me, and he had a female that went out and knocked doors for him. And one of the transient workers that was staying in a hotel, and not a nice guy, literally threatened her and said use the line, that's what she said, and I believe her, I'll knock your teeth down your throat, or something like, tell that lady to da 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 da, or I'm going to knock her teeth down her throat. Like, so that was one where maybe that guy doesn't have the best. I'm not saying everybody, right? But maybe that one particular guy might not have the best interest, but on the other side of it, he might have got his feelings hurt, right? Something might have happened. A client might have went from his company or that he was working with to ours, or who knows, everything going on. But that, I say that because, and I had to pick up the phone, right, and call the other company, speak with the manager, explain what this gentleman, explain what this guy said. And the management was very understanding. Like, I'm so sorry, I cannot believe that. We'll take care of this. We'll definitely have this discussion. Is there anything that you want to do? Da, 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 like going into it. And really, that was it, right? Apology. Really wanted an apology from the guy to the woman. And I'm going back to 2014. So this is like 9 years ago. I don't exactly remember what happened. I don't even know that she wanted the apology. I think that the manager offered to make it happen. I think I circled back and she was like, no, I'm done with it. Like, I don't want nothing to do with that thing, that situation. But it was a real tough situation for me too, because I had to stand up and to somebody that was being a bully, really. Like, dude, who says, like, anyway. So all that being said, my argument, I guess, to say, like, if somebody doesn't have values and they come in, yes, I think as a small percentage, there could be an overarching, but even that's where I say, like, my view could come from my own view. Like, I judge people that way. I have a lot of compassion for people. I think that they've been dealt a poor hand, or they've dealt themselves a poor hand, or a lot of hurts that go on that create the experiences that people go through. So yeah, dude, I really, I do. And it's so tough because I can relate. So there's another thing I want to say before we jump off. What is your timeline for
Yeah,
wrapping?
let's close. Yeah.
All right. So let me say these two things. So one, I can relate, like, about getting money, right? Like, going out there and getting money. It is exciting. And even through 2019 and 2020, I think I lost that. I was trying to build out, like, operations, sales, process, procedure, employees, and health benefits, car, truck, all these different things to try to figure all that out. I literally forgot the excitement about earning. Like, it's creation. You're creating an opportunity, you're earning money, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's not evil or bad. Like, you could do good and be excited and make money and create wealth. So that being said, but I think that there can be once it becomes about the money first and only, or first, let's say, it can, and we talked about that in another meeting that we had, one of these values, that it will cloud your judgment, and then you will do these things unbeknownst, like, or knowingly, you'll do these things that are counter to the values, and actually ends up making either less money, or it could make money, but it's really unrewarding. So that was one thing I just wanted to say about this whole thing, because, like, there's this negative connotation of storm chaser, negative. We talk about the values of the individual that's going into the community, and it's almost like I got this idea, like, okay, we want to put the money totally over here. We're only here to help. We're only here, but that's not true. Like, that's actually, mission. And it would be like a reverse mantra, rather than the one side of the culture that's saying, buyers are liars, close the deal, sell or be sold, right? The other side could be self-deceiving, like we're only here to help people. We just do these things to help, like, and whatever comes to us, comes to us. No, like we are creative individuals that want to earn and provide for our families and support the values of the life that we, whether it's public school, private school for our kids, college, a mortgage, retirement, vacations, whatever it is that we want to create of a lifestyle. Well, then we can then do work to provide that for our families, our wives, extended families, for those around the globe, to give to people, like all these different things that it's like a God-given, it's part of who we are. We're given this ability to create. So that's the one thing I wanted to touch on with this idea of virtues and going out and having these values. But the other thing that I wanted to say is like, I'm going back to original conversation about storm chasers and what's a negative connotation. We talked about like, people jump into the business, they get out of the business, they bankrupt the company, they open a new one, they'll give false information to homeowners. One thing that rises up to me, and it's a gray area, right? Like I trusted myself. A business has to start at some time, right? Like there's a definite date where you register your LLC with the state of, for me, it was Pennsylvania, right? And then from that point, you go out and you sell, you talk to clients, and big question is, are you on the Better Business Bureau? How long have you been in business? How many employees do you have? Right? Like, so these questions that rise up, it gives this opportunity to omit or communicate to the customer or tell the truth. And I will say, like, there are a lot of, I believe, good-hearted entrepreneurs that just started out in the business, and they might they may twist or fabricate some of their truths. And it's like, and I say that because that's one thing when we started advertising Guardian Home Improvements, right? That's the name of the company. We're making the website. I had help. We're doing all these things. And it's like, man, the business has only been established for like 6 years or something like this. But that seems so weak to me, right? Like it seems so weak to tell a client like, oh, and I'm saying this specifically for the website. So rather than come out in the truthfulness at that point, at like 2012 or whatever year it was, 11, no, it was 12. And I wrote on there, I like felt great about it too. I was like, oh, this is great. We have over 100 years of combined experience, right? My dad was with the company. He had been working from 18 to like 50 or something. Like there's 40 years right there. I had experience, people had experience, sales reps, etc. So that was how I didn't say we've been in business this long, but it's like this omission, this twist of the truth, right? So I say that because I don't want to omit, right? Like, so right now I have to live out the same values that we're talking about. And the value is a home improvement specialist who listens intentionally, communicates clearly, and educates the customer by telling the truth. It could be my customer on this thing right here. So if I'm coming off on this podcast like, oh, these people do these terrible things, like, hold on a second, like I have done these things. I've learned these lessons by making these omissions and knowing the other side of it, right? But I know that's how I can say, like, yeah, you can have success, but it doesn't even feel so great. And I'm talking about even an instant success or a years of success. So all that being said, I for an effort to continue to live out my values, I want to make it clear to the listener, to you, Jay, like, and I know that I'm not perfect, actually. I've made a lot of mistakes, and that's one of the areas where I don't want to come off like I'm in an ivory tower, pointing the finger at these brand new contractors that are coming out like this old dog that's been doing it for over a decade. Like, I get it. Like, you got to get started somewhere. You're 1 year in the business. You have to make your bone. You have to like put in the work. And I see it. I literally read it on someone else's website, within the last year or two. Like, look at this. They got over 100 years combined experience, because you're ashamed, really. You're I don't know if it's ashamed. I'm not confident to say, yeah, I wasn't confident to say 4 years in business, 6 years in business, whatever the number was. It sounded weak to me. And as knowing what the buyer would want, or my perception of what the buyer would want, it motivated me to create something different. But the very tricky part of that is that for the educated buyer, or the person on the other side that is not just dazzled by flash and whatever else, they're going to read that and they're going to be able to see, they're going to be able to listen to me without interrupting, to understand me, right? My authenticity. That's another one of our values, right? Like, so the other person can do it. So that's the deception part. Like when we that's a proverb in the Bible, like when we lay out a trap, but we do it right in front of the birds that see it, that we're trying to lay out a trap for. So we lay out this deception, and ultimately it's literally, and in alignment with another proverb, is that that when you go out for blood, you're actually doing it to yourself. You're basically setting yourself up for these things. So that's part of this like combined learning lesson that I've had with you, and biblical teachings, and that to live the faith out, it's the things that myself, my ego, my flesh, my person wants to avoid and wants to omit, or outright lie or deceive somebody for. And that's the tricky part, is like good intentions, because I want to be able to win them over, because I think I'll be able to do good, or I want to keep them in, I don't want to hurt their feelings, whatever these things are. A lot of times people can see that anyway, so it will harm the relationship, rather than just be truthful, straightforward, and it actually wins business, wins relationships. And the most important thing is that it gives me my own sense of internal peace, because I didn't bullcrap somebody, right? I didn't omit, I didn't stretch the truth some, because I have this other thing inside, this conscious, that's like, oh, there it is. And the more that I squelched it, the more that I put that out and push it away, the easier it becomes to continue to deceive myself and others, which it's like, that's not the life I want to live. And I thank God for that. I thank you, Jay, for being that. I thank God that he put you in my life to be able to be aware of some of those things, because it's totally transformed my experience on a day-to-day. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to just touch back on that. So thank you for that.